Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new 2023 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. Now, wait, before you comment,
"That's not my Ford Bronco."
Dad, you never even owned a Bronco.
Okay, if I would have owned a Ford Bronco, it definitely wouldn't be this one.
give me a chance here. I know it doesn't have the off-road prowess or the rugged good looks of its bigger brother, but the Bronco Sport has some cool features I think a lot of people are going to be impressed by. And if you don't feel the same by the end of the video, feel free to comment below and have at it. Look, would I even be doing my job correctly as a car reviewer if somebody wasn't ranting down in the comment section? Before we begin, I'd like to thank Fairfield Ford of Williamsport for allowing me to borrow this vehicle to review. For all your Ford needs in the Williamsport area, I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. Starting out up front here on the Bronco Sport, as I mentioned up top, it isn't as sharp looking as its larger Bronco brother. There's a tongue twister. Say that 3 times fast. But I do think this is a sporty looking little SUV. That's aided a lot with these headlights you'll get with a full LED light strip in here for the daytime running light, and the fact that it has Bronco spelled out across the grille. Now, this is a Big Bend trim, which is a little bit lower in the lineup on the Sports, so you're not gonna get fog lights or tow hooks down here. Though I really do like the eruption green color that this has. You don't really see green as a color option on cars anymore. Moving underneath the hood on this Bronco Sport, it's powered by a 1.5-liter EcoBoost inline 3-cylinder, making 181 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Moving to the profile of the Bronco Sport, starting here with the wheels and tires, you're gonna get 225 65R Continentals around these 17-inch Bronco wheels. I really like the gunmetal gray design of them. I think that goes really well with the fender flare line right there. That's kind of a matte black plastic piece. Speaking of black plastic pieces, there'll be a lot of them on this one. This is like a fake air vent. Then you'll have your Big Bend sticker, and then coming up to your mirror, that is also blacked out plastic, though it does have blind spot monitoring incorporated into it, and it is power adjusting, which is convenient. And then coming down here, this also has keyless entry. So you tap that, it will lock the vehicle. Put your hand back there, that will unlock the vehicle if you have the key in your pocket. So that is neat, and there's so much blacked out plastic on here, it kind of blends together and gives it more of that off-roady vibe. Honestly, as I was filming B-roll for this, I started to see a lot of Land Rover in it. Do you see it? Do you see the Land Rover? I know, it's probably crazy, heretical to say, but I was like, oh, there is a lot of Land Rover styling cues in here, and Ford owned Land Rover for a little time. Not that that would give them the excuse to rip it off now, but I see a lot of the new Defender in this, which I think is decent. You know, if Land Rover came out with the Bronco Sport, you know, like the equivalency of this, and they called it a Land Rover, I think a lot of people would like it. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's real neat. But the fact that this is a Ford Bronco is one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't like it or they laugh it off. It's not a bad SUV overall, and I think you're really gonna see that coming back here. They fit a lot of gimmicks into this. So Bronco Sport is spelled out across the back. One thing I really like is there's 2 buttons here. One opens up just the rear glass. That is so cool. Gives you easy access into the back here. Not a lot of SUVs do that anymore, where the rear glass either folds down or goes up, but you do get it here on the Bronco Sport. And then up here, there is a little Bronco on the glass, which I think is neat. Then, if we open up the entire lift gate right here, you get a lot of storage room, a lot of storage capacity here, a lot of tie downs. There's a little light back here. There's a 12 volt, which is convenient. And Opening this up, there is your spare tire. It is a donut, but it's nice to have a full actual spare tire and not just a fix-a-flat kit. The second row seats do fold down, obviously, give you a little bit more storage capacity. One thing you never see on an SUV is there's little lights right here that adjust, so they are really banking on you tailgating with this thing. And you know, you have stuff back here, you want to illuminate the ground at night, maybe you're camping. They've really packed in some features, and they haven't just made this kind of a city SUV with the Bronco name on it. They've definitely added things to incorporate the off-road heritage of this model. So it might not have everything the bigger one does, mainly the ability to take the doors off, though frankly I think if you took the doors off this would look pretty dorky. Now before we move to the interior, I just want to highlight the key fob real quick. Very simple: lock, unlock, and panic. And then it says Bronco on the back. Trust me, you'll have to trust me that the rest of this says Bronco. I know the sticker's hiding it, but I haven't done anything to break your trust, so you'll just have to trust that the rest of this says that. Moving to the interior of the Bronco Sport, this Big Bend trim doesn't have a ton to write home about. It's fairly basic, though I want to take you through the highlights. For starters, this is soft touch right here, as well as this. You'll get your window controls, your mirror controls, lock and unlock, and then down here there is a button to open up that rear lift gate. And then moving to the steering wheel, it is kind of a polyurethane rubber material. Not super comfortable, but it obviously gets the job done. You'll have your controls for Bluetooth, volume, cruise control right here, and the small center display screen right here. So you can scroll through your Bluetooth, your digital speedometer, your driver assistance stuff, and if you want, it can just be a picture of your Bronco that you can look at. It does do a little bit more than that. It does have some driver information stuff right there. If we click in, it's not just a picture of the Bronco. And then if we move over here, it is push button start, and you'll get about an 8-inch infotainment screen, fairly sized for this segment. Ford's infotainment has always been very fast and responsive, so I like that. You obviously get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then if we throw this in reverse, you get a very clear backup camera with guiding lines. That's always nice to see. And it has the ability to zoom in if you're doing like trailering. Though this doesn't have a great towing capacity, so I'm not sure how much trailering you would be doing, though it is there. You'll have your physical dials for volume and the channel changing right there, so that's cool to see. Some storage, your climate controls, USB and USB-C, as well as a 12-volt. And then down here you do have a dial shifter. These are becoming more common, though I suspect people are still getting used to them. You just spin to get into your gear, and then there's a little light down there. It works well enough, though I still prefer a traditional center tunnel or column shifter if you were to ask me. Cup holders right there, and electronic parking brake, as well as auto hold. And then down here, there is the GOAT modes. Greatest of all time? No. Go over any terrain. So if I spin this little dial, you'll get Eco Sport, slippery, and sand. If I hold in sand right there, it turns the traction control off, which is like a little full-size Bronco. So that's a cute little Easter egg. A lot of different Easter eggs hidden all around this car. The last thing I wanted to mention on the front end of this Bronco Sport is that the seats are very comfortable. They are cloth and they are manually adjusting, but that doesn't mean they don't still grip just as well as a leather seat would, and they do. They are very nice. Moving to the rear seats on the Bronco Sport, this is where I'd be sitting at 5'9" in the front seat, and I have 2, maybe 3 inches of legroom if I put my knees together. Now, headroom is a different story. I probably have 5 or 6 inches of headroom, so a lot back here, though not a ton of legroom. There's a couple of neat things back here, though. You'll get climate vents and USB and USB-C down there, and if we fold this down, 2 cup holders. So there's definitely amenities, and this part of the seats is wrapped in kind of like a leatherette material, like a faux leather. So I think that's interesting. So you get cloth here, cloth up front, but this center seat, the middle seat, receives the most comfortable spot. So I think that's interesting. Last thing of note in here is you do get LED dome lights. Let's go. They're LEDs. They're not yellow. They're white. So they're very bright in here. Though, as I push on that, look at how loose that, oh my word, look at how loose that roof panel is. What a silly place to put those lights. I mean, wouldn't you bolt something here so every time you hit the roof, it doesn't feel like it's real chintzy? Look at how much play you get there. That's pretty chintzy. Let's see how this thing drives. All right, driving the Bronco Sport. Let's get this up to speed a little bit here. It does take a little bit. You can hear that engine whine. But once it gets up to speed, it is pretty spiffy. I think Ford is targeting the overlanding market with this little guy, with the capabilities and functionalities that it has. Merging here, this is nice, like that it has blind spot monitoring. And the visibility here is very open. I like what I can see here. There's not a lot of blind spots. That C-pillar is pretty wide, but for the most part, with the blind spot monitoring, it does feel very open in here and comfy. I think the seats are very plush and you fit in it well. It's maybe not the best SUV if you have a lot of people that you're hoping to drive around, unless maybe you have kids. The backseat legroom isn't as bad on them, though I think it's a comfortable ride overall. Well, that is just about going to wrap up my review of the Bronco Sport. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I am a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, you can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out on a weekly scriptural reading. This week's is Proverbs 3, verses 1 and 2. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace will they add to you. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care.